The difference between linear regression and logistic regression is that linear regression uses a linear function to generate a line of best fit that corresponds to the dataset. This makes prediction for this approach best for predicting continuous values that correspond to the input variables, like analyzing prices. Logistic regression uses a logistic function to map the input variables into categorical responses. The outputs for logistic regressions are usually between 0 and 1. For error analysis, linear regression uses a least square error based on the distance between observed and predicted, whereas logistic regression is based on maximum likelihood ratios of one class versus another. Due to that reason, logistic regression is best for classification due to the output is more discrete, making it best for categorical problems. If a logistic regression doesn't converge, this indicates that there's some hyperparameters that needed to be tuned, like the learning rate. An example of this is a method called gradient descent. If gradient descent doesn't approach the minimum result, this indicates that the learning rate is probably too big since it passes the minimum. The difference between underfitting and overfitting is that underfitting occurs because there is a lack of data or parameters in the model. This will create a high bias that corresponds to a strong assumption for analyzing the data, resulting in inaccurate estimations. Overfitting indicates that there's too many parameters that corresponds to the amount of data. This shows that there is a high variance when analyzing the data, whereas the model is better at analyzing one data set and fails to understand the data set overall. An example of this would be like if you were taking a test, but you don't know how to do the test, you just memorize all the answers.